What's the crack? Haven't been on in a little while. Fucking last time I was on was the accent challenge, and yeah, so I've been a bit all over the shop the past couple of weeks because I got a car firstly, and I've been flat out with that, trying to fucking sort out shit for that and all the rest of it. So yeah, I've been a bit busy, which is good. Busy's good, especially during this fucking corona shite that seems to be never fucking ending. I have a few guests lined up now. I keep saying don't I? Yeah, I have a few guests lined up. Couple coming on this week, hopefully, and then yeah, I'll be get the ball rolling again then because I'm sick of fucking. I'm going through phases of for 2 weeks I'm flat out, and then for 2 weeks I'm slacking, and 2 weeks flat out, 2 weeks slacking, and I just need to be consistent with it. You know what I mean? But I just thought I'd hop on anyway for a quick one. Sole purpose of this is to get the new logo out there, made by O'Brien Designs. I will leave his Instagram in the description, and you can check him out. And mainly just for you to chill out, bit of escapism, relax. Fucking, that's why there's no face cam, so you don't have to look at my ugly mush today. You can just chill out, fucking listen to my soothing voice. Nah, my voice is about as soothing as fucking sandpaper. But if you were to rub it on your face, like, do you know what I mean? Because like that would be soothing, like, whatsoever. But yeah, fucking the main kind of topic on this one, and I've touched on it through a load of other podcasts, but the main topic on this one is weed panic attacks, marijuana panic attacks, Mary Jane panic attacks. And I mean, if you searched for this video, then there's a chance that you're currently experiencing a weed panic attack. And the problem with weed panic attacks are panic attack. If you say that over and over again, it starts to sound fake. Panic attack, panic attack, panic attack. Sounds like a different language. Watch, I'll be cancelled for that now. But I think the difference between weed panic attacks and regular ones is the fact that you're already quite disassociated when you're stoned, mixed with the fucking horrible disassociation you get with panic attacks. It's kind of a double whammy. Like, they're a lot more intense than sober ones. And like, the thing is about, like, I dealt with them for a long time, and I didn't know what they were, because when they're light you don't know what they are. And see, right, so they start off with, and if you are listening to this and you're currently having some sort of reaction to weed, I'll leave in the description. I'm going to listen to the video again. In the description, I'm going to start talking about how to beat it in a little bit, how to get rid of it. So I'll leave a timestamp in the description, and you can just skip to that if you don't care about the history of why it does it or what it means and blah blah blah. But anyway, so the reason, well, not so much the reason, but it starts with usually someone thinking, that joint made my heart go a little bit fast. That's the way it started with me anyway, and that's any lads I know that it's happened to. It starts in a similar way, where it isn't just 0 to 100. Some people do. It does happen to. And if you're a weed smoker and you hear these things happening, it's so hard for you to comprehend it because of how common weed makes you as a person. And I should know, because I was two types of weed smokers. I was the one who absolutely loved it, absolutely adored it. It made me relax. It made all the negativity in my brain go away. And I was the paranoid one then, after about a year and a half of smoking daily. And the thing is about it, like, it started off as that. It started off as the racing heart after a joint. And I was thinking, well, what's that all about? You know what I mean? So I automatically start presuming that I had some sort of heart condition, or I had some sort of, like, illness, because I was like, well, weed is like, it's dressed up as this fucking beautiful fucking miracle plant. It's not even dressed up as a drug, which it completely is a drug. Now, before everyone starts attacking me, I completely think it should be legalized, and I think it does amazing things for certain people. Emphasis on the certain people. So you start kind of doubting. You start thinking, like, weed shouldn't be making my heart go like this. Do you know what I mean? It's me. It's not the weed. It's me. I'm the problem. Which, yeah, if you're an anxious person, no, you shouldn't be smoking weed. To an extent, because some people, weed helps their anxiety big time. But I think, obviously, there's anxiety is a fucking huge spectrum. The tree of mental health, the tree of mental illness. It's such a huge fucking. There's so many varieties of each one, and some people who smoke weed for example, to battle social anxiety. That's originally because that's what I had when I was younger. A lot of social anxiety, the health anxiety, or the hypochondria, other people call it, or as it's formerly known. It's known as health anxiety now. Before that, I was younger, and I did deal with a lot of social anxiety. When I started smoking weed, I realised when I went places that I didn't really care about anything. My biggest thing when I was younger was I thought I was going to get hit somewhere when I went anywhere, right? For some fucking reason. Up until about the age of 14, I always just thought that I was just, for some reason, I was scared of fighting, which is weird because, like, I've done boxing and I've done different, like, martial arts and stuff, and I know that I can defend myself, but I don't know, it was just kind of it was a fear of confrontation. Now that's entirely gone now, but it was just at the time. And then I realised when I started smoking weed that I'm like, this is grand, like everything's great. Which, if you use weed to combat and to treat a mental illness, right, fantastic. But if you use weed to block out the reason why you have a mental illness, that's not healthy. I was using it to block out. I was using it to forget. I was using it to escape. Do you know what I mean? I was using it in the wrong way. If you're using it therapeutically, grand. But, and there's one thing I really want to touch on as well, just one thing, is trauma entitlement, we'll call it, right? Trauma entitlement. Now, I had a bit of this. It's sort of, how do I explain it? For example, yeah, you know when someone's a bully in school or whatever, right? And then someone says, oh yeah, well, they were battered by their dad when they were younger or something. So they have kind of, it's like it's hard to explain. It's like, just to put it very simply, right? Just because you have had bad things happen to you doesn't mean you can be bad to other people, if that makes sense. Now, thankfully, my trauma didn't come from me dad battering me or anything of the likes of it. But I still, for a while, since I went through some stuff, mental illness stuff and stuff when I was younger, I had this air of entitlement, and a lot of people have it, where it's like, no, I had a hard life, so I'm entitled to shovel all this weed and all these drugs into me. And a lot of people do kind of have it. It's like, it's sort of like someone who, if you lose somebody, and then like if you lose somebody to any disease, or if you lose somebody to anything, if someone passes on that you were close to, and a lot of people go out and they black out, a lot of people will pick up a habit or pick up a drug. Like if you get out of a relationship, if you get dumped, I've said that very bluntly, didn't I? If someone breaks up with you, you feel as though, even subconsciously, that you have some sort of entitlement to be a prick. And that's kind of simple. That's I know it's very blunt, but it is true, and that's what it's called. Like in my head, I just made up the phrase trauma entitlement, and that is another. It's like a good point. That's the point I was making earlier, and I couldn't get the words out. Supposing someone was abused, and then they go to school and they bully people. So from like a therapist perspective, it's like, oh well, they're taking their anger out on other people, but they're also copying what they see at home. But that's not the point. Trauma entitlement, in my eyes, is exactly just as I said. Just because bad things happen to you doesn't mean you can be a bad person. You're not allowed to just be a bad person. Everyone has a duty on earth to be a good person, and you don't really have a choice in that. You just you have to be a good person, and you should like being a good person. But the point I'm getting at is, I was using weed recreationally and telling myself I was using it for anxiety. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people will use it recreationally, which is absolutely fine. It's a harmless drug. It doesn't physically harm you at all. Mentally, it has been proven to cause psychosis if you abuse it, but physically, it doesn't harm you. So if you do it recreationally, great, but be honest with yourself about why you're using it. That's one of my biggest things. When I used to smoke it, I used to tell myself, but I have anxiety. It's grand. I have anxiety because of this and because of that and because of this. So I'm able to smoke. This is grand. But in reality, I was just using my low enough anxiety at the time, because it only got real bad in the past year. I was using my relatively low anxiety disorder as an excuse to get fucking stoned out of my head all the time. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it just interests me, and a lot of people will know where I'm coming from, and this might hit home with a few people, and I might be thinking like, But oh, fuck's sake, like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, he's right, do you know what I mean? I am just fucking smoking it to, which is fine. As I said, it's perfectly okay to use recreationally, as long as, and as I don't like quoting this fella because I don't like to be a little sheep, but as Joe Rogan said, weed doesn't necessarily make you lazy. You were lazy to begin with, which I half agree and I half don't agree with. I was fucking crazy about the gym. I was crazy about the gym before I started smoking weed, and after I started smoking weed, I didn't want to touch a weed. All I wanted to do was smoke. And maybe I was, does that mean I was subconsciously lazy all along? I personally don't think so. I personally think the weed did contribute to that a little bit, at least a little bit. Look, I said it before in another podcast about addictions. If your choice of escape, we'll call it, is controlling your life, if your life revolves around that, then you need to make some changes. In my opinion, I'm not your dad. Do you know what I mean? I can't fucking. It's your life. I can't tell you what to do. In my opinion, this is what it means. But if it's not getting in the way of anything, and if you're like, for example, I was working to smoke. That's literally it. I was working to smoke, but if you're working and you're saving money and you're getting the nice clothes, or it doesn't have to be nice clothes. If you're paying for yourself, if you're giving your ma a bit of cash for staying in the house every week, if you have your bills paid, and then at night time you like to relax and have a joint, that's fucking grand. Do you know what I mean? That's, if it's not harming anyone or yourself, that's grand. But recognize a problem when you've got a problem. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because I had to, and I'm not saying, well, I had to say you all do, because if I didn't start having weird panic attacks, I'd still probably be smoking, and that's just the truth. But anyway, so the way it started with me was, and a way I start with a lot of fellas, is you seem to feel very alone and scared because you're like, please no, like, don't start fucking making me heart go fast. I don't. The biggest fear of when I start getting the palpitations when I smoked weed, like, as in, and by the way, anyone who experiences this will, if you're wondering, I wonder if I'm getting that. This is what it felt like for me anyway. Take a blow of a joint, take another blow of a joint, then you get a little sink feeling in your chest, just this little sinking feeling, and then the heart speeds up. And that's all it is for the start. That's all it is, just the little sinking feeling, and then the bump, 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 and the heart rate stays elevated for a while. And that's what it started off as for me. But then I ignored that, and I kept going. Now, this is the problem. I was ignoring it, and I was still smoking, and then I was telling myself that it's not the weed, it's something to do with my heart. I'm like, oh, there's something wrong with my heart, something wrong with my heart. While I was saying that, I'm smoking more weed, and then one day, had a big massive panic attack because I had something called an ectopic heartbeat, which is when your heart, and everyone gets them, it's when your heart's beating normally, bum 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 bum, and then it goes bum 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 bum. It stops for a second, right? Now, I had never fucking heard of them since looking into mental illnesses and looking into anxiety and into the other bizarre things our body can do when we're put under duress. I've discovered them, that everyone gets them whether they know it or not. And a lot of people get them during exercise and they don't know because your heart's being strained and then it just skips a beat. And if you have a healthy heart, it's completely fine for those to happen. If you're having 20 in a row and you're getting chest pains, then that's a different story. But yeah, so pretty much that happened, and I thought I flatlined. That's what I thought happened. I thought I died for a second. So then that spiraled. One of the most terrifying panic attacks I've ever had. The most terrifying was my first one sober, which was last October actually. Nearly a year since that, which is crazy. That changed my life, changed my whole outlook on life, fucking mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. Because I was 100% sure I was dead, and yeah, fucking insanely scary experience. But we're just talking about weed panic attacks for now. And the thing about weed itself, right, the reason it happens is it's, first of all, it does increase your heart rate a little bit, which is fine. It doesn't increase your heart rate a little bit. Some people won't get an increased heart rate on it, but the norm is that weed, THC, increases your heart rate. Now, sativa, which is an upper kind of buzz, which is your haze, stuff like that. Sativas are a morning weed, they call it in Amsterdam, daytime weed. That'll increase it more, obviously, than your indicas. Now, your indicas are your kushes. They're your, well, the kush is just a type of indica. I'm not saying all indicas are kush. They're your sleepy weeds. They're your hungry weed, the weed that makes you hungry. Now, you still get the munchies from fucking silver haze and lemon haze, obviously, but you fucking like these make you much hungrier. So these are used for and they're better for pain, chronic pain. And there's a lot more CBD found in indica strains. So a lot of people say, oh, but if you're having weird panic attacks, switch to an indica strain because it's a lot more chilled out and blah, blah, blah. Now, it doesn't matter when you're having weird panic attacks because it's THC. It's not the variety of weed you're smoking. Now, it could very well be that you're smoking. If you experience palpitations as a once off when you're smoking weed, it's a very good chance it's the type of weed. And especially with Irish weed dipped in fucking piss and dipped in Lucozade, then yeah, right, fair enough. That's if it's sprayed with stuff, that's grand. But that's an excuse that a lot of people tell them if they're experiencing palpitations with weed. They're like, it's just because it's sprayed, it's Irish. If I get Cali, it'll go away. But it doesn't go away. If you're experiencing it over and over and over again, then my dog won't shut the fuck up barking. I swear to God. Might go down and let him smoke a joint and he can have a panic attack and fuck off. But no, the thing is with the, like, what was I saying? I'm about to lose my train of thought now because of that stupid dog. Little fluffy bastard. But yeah, so the thing is dealing with them, and the problem is if you're experiencing these, the number one thing that should be your priority is stop smoking until you have this resolved, because that's a mistake I made. I kept on smoking and it made my condition so much worse, nearly making me enter a psychosis type of state. Very close. I probably did enter a psychosis state, to be honest with you. Lost me fucking mind there last year, the end of last year, because I got back smoking for about a month, and then I had I go, nah, this isn't for me, fuck this, and then I stopped. So weed is a big player as to why I have the mental illness and mental complications that I do have. But yeah, so it's like it does not. I don't have to explain about panic attacks. I explained in another one. It's sending your body into fight or flight, whether you want it to or not. If you consciously look at weed as completely safe, it doesn't matter. Your subconscious sees it as dangerous. Well, not sees it as dangerous. Weed isn't the problem. The weed makes you. That's what I was gonna say. It heightens all your senses. Heightens your smell. Heightens your touch. Heightens your taste. That's why food, when you're stoned, tastes and smells so fucking good. Do you know what I mean? It smells and tastes amazing because your senses are heightened. Music sounds better. Do you ever get where you're stoned, you're like really feeling a song, like, and it's just, you're like unbelievably vibing with the music. That's why all your senses are heightened. So when your senses are heightened and your body thinks you're in danger, mixed with the heightened senses, that's when a panic attack happens. Now, I'm going to start this part as well. It sounded like a pause there. I didn't, but I still kept talking. I'm going to just go on and say, if you're having a panic attack from weed, fair play, because they're scary. If it's your first one, I'm sorry, because I can't imagine because I remember it. I can't imagine how terrified you are right now, because you've probably experienced absolutely nothing like this before. You've definitely experienced nothing like this before, but on a positive note, it ends. It ends as soon as your brain knows that you're not in danger. And the problem with that is people mostly keep panic attacks alive themselves by continually being fucking terrified. See, it's a never ending circle. Your body panics, which causes your mind to panic, and then you freak out, which causes the sensation of panic to multiply. And then, so the racing heart you think is a heart attack, which makes you panic more because your brain thinks you're in danger. See, the subconscious part of your brain and the conscious part of your brain, they're not friends. Do you know what I mean? They don't get along well. Do you know what I mean? They're like a brother and sister who don't get along well. So if you're experiencing this, it's because your brain subconsciously is sending out fight or flight responses to every other part of your body. So when we were animals, before we evolved into humans, when we were animals, say, at the very first part of our brain, cerebellum, I think it's called, I talked about it in our podcast, top of your spine is where the old brain is, the oldest brain that we have. Brain is made up of 3 brains. That's where the fight or flight response is. So when we were in the jungle and we saw, it was the same reason our faces go red when we're embarrassed, because when we were animals and our faces glowed red, then we had to, that was to warn off an enemy, because warn off a predator, because if you see red, it's danger. So that's why ginger people were made, actually, as well, because I'm joking, but yeah, so like it's to warn off a predator. So that's why our faces still go red when we're embarrassed, but There's no predators now. Like Larry Murphy and stuff aside, there's no actual dangers like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not to warn anyone off, but it's a trait that we still kept. It's the same thing with the fight or flight. The blood gets taken from your arms, yeah, and sent to your organs because it thinks you're in danger. So when you have numb arms when you're having a panic attack, it's because the blood is after getting sucked out of them, which is perfectly safe. This is the thing as well. Emphasis on this. Panic cannot kill you. Panic is there to keep you alive. It's completely there to keep you alive. It cannot kill you. It cannot. As I said before, if you walked out in front of a car and the car narrowly missed you, and then you were like, oh my God, I'm so happy that car missed me. You don't realise because you're in such a state of shock, but your heart is racing, your mouth is tingly, your arms are tingly, your chest is tight as fuck because you just nearly got hit by a fucking car. You're in real danger. But the thing is, when you're having a panic attack in general, your body thinks you're in the real danger, but you're not. So, for example, the symptoms of that I just described, that if you get nearly hit by a car and then you jump out of the way, the symptoms that you experience, they disappear after a couple of minutes. Yeah, you're in a state of shock, but they disappear after a couple of minutes. And the reason they do is because the danger's evidently gone. But if your brain can't find where the danger's coming from, or if it's set on one danger, as in being, I'm going to die, I'm having a heart attack, the danger in your brain doesn't stop. So if you're feeling any of these symptoms right now, tightness in your chest, heart palpitations, heart skipping a beat, dry mouth, tingling in your arms or tingling around your mouth, numbness anywhere, a feeling of complete dread, disassociation, not feeling like you're in your body, feeling like you're having an outer body experience. These are all, or if you're feeling all of them or just one of them. Pain, chest pain as well is another big one. You're having a panic attack. And the only way, as I've talked about in a previous podcast, I've had a euro for every time I said if I talked about in a previous podcast, the only way to get rid of it, in my opinion, people say there's a method about counting things around the room, people say there's methods about you should go for a walk and you should do 10 things you smell, and that's all fucking complicated and it's all unhealthy because it's an avoidance to what is actually the matter. The only way to beat a panic attack is to completely relax. And I know this is much, much easier said than done, but completely relax and just allow the panic to flow through you. Because when you allow it to flow through you, you're killing the thought that it's something dangerous. Because if you're tensed up and you're still ready for battle, you're ready to fight as an animal, you're ready to fight or fly, your mind stays in that mode. Do you know what I mean? But if you take it slow for a second, and even though your body, and tell yourself as well, say it out loud right now what you're feeling. Say it out loud what you're feeling, exactly what you're feeling. List out your symptoms out loud now. My mouth is dry, my lips are tingling, one of the sides of my faces is numb. My faces? Yeah, I hope you don't have two faces. One of the sides of my face is numb. My arms are numb, my hands are tingly, my legs are shaky. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. I feel like I'm going to pass out. I'm incredibly dizzy. Say your symptoms out loud and accept them, and know that what you're experiencing is panic, and it goes away. The quicker you accept it, the quicker it goes away, to put it simply. And again, I'm always here. I mean, I'm fucking nothing else to do because of this COVID shit. I was going to have a rant about the masks and stuff, but I'm not bothered, to be honest. I'll keep this podcast positive about fighting panic attacks and dealing with them. But yeah, if you are experiencing a weird panic attack, understand that thousands of people on a fucking daily basis experience these things. I'm talking about the weed ones now. I'm not just talking about regular panic attacks. I'm talking about weed panic attacks because they're extra extreme, especially on an edible. Jesus Christ, especially on an edible. So just know that this isn't death approaching, because that's what your brain wants to tell you it is. Your brain wants you to believe that this is your end, and it isn't, because you're still here and it's just another panic attack that a lot of people have. But my one word of advice would be, if you are experiencing these feelings when you smoke weed, stop. Because if you look up things about weed, all you're going to find is just this dressed up stuff about how amazing it is and it's the herb of life, man, and blah blah blah. It's not all that, right? It's painted with a very different brush in the media than it is. And people think, oh no, it's given a bad rap. No, it isn't. It's given the opposite of a bad rap. People act like it's perfect, that there's no flaws. Everything has its flaws. And I remember someone put this up actually years ago. I forget who it was. Someone I had on Facebook. They were saying, if you look at weed and you don't think it's a drug, then you shouldn't be smoking it. It is a drug, right? Yes, it's natural and right. And all the Bob Marley heads out, don't come at me fucking swinging your 12-inch spliffs at me. I still love weed. I don't smoke it, but I still love it. I smoke CBD weed all the time. I still love weed as everything about it, the different flavours, Amsterdam, everything about weed I love, right? The medical purposes. But know that it's not all perfect. Know that it can cause you to go from an extremely calm person to an extremely anxious person. Now, I was relatively anxious and it amplified it, but I know that it's happened to people that they were fine and then they smoked it, and then it's like it can cause psychosis. It can cause things like that, right? Look, if you're experiencing a panic attack now, you're not going to get into psychosis. I'm talking years and years of abuse of weed here, but yeah, it's kind of awkward recording this because I don't know if people listening are having a panic attack right now, or if they just want to be informed on weed panic attacks and my battle with them. But basically, if you are having a panic attack right now, I'll leave a link in the description of a video saying what to do if you're having a panic attack, and it's just literally a guided 20 minutes. It's a guided video, and I can bet you, you can send me your PayPal. I can bet you 50 quid that you won't, if you're having a panic attack, you won't have one by the end of that video, and that's a fact. But listen, I have a few people coming over this week to record podcasts, and I'll be back on the webcam buzz soon. And yeah, hope you're all keeping well. I have to say now, I am dying for a night out when this is all over. I couldn't drink a few months ago because of anxiety symptoms. I'd get extra drunk, extra fast, and my heart would be booming. But now I can drink again, so happy fucking days. But yeah, thanks for listening, whoever did. As per usual, few relatively big guests announcing soon. So yeah, it's all looking good. Yeah, that's it. I wanted to think of something funny to say there, but have nothing. Drinking a bottle of Fanta Exotic, here I am. Like something off the Undateables, you know me, as usual. See that ASMR there? That Fanta ASMR, that Faye ASMR. Right, come on, good luck to you know that. Go on, mind yourself. Yeah, go on, send us that down the WhatsApp.